Claude is not a research database. The lawyers who understand that use it brilliantly for legal research. The lawyers who don't eventually have a problem, and the problem usually surfaces at the worst possible moment. There are two versions of the conversation about AI and legal research that are both wrong. The first says Claude can do your research for you. Just ask it the legal question and use the answer. The second says never use AI for research. It hallucinates, it's unreliable, don't touch it. Neither of these is accurate. Neither of them is useful. This episode is the honest version. What Claude can do in a research context, specifically with the practical implications for how you use it. What it cannot do, specifically, with the consequences of getting that wrong. The hybrid workflow that uses both Claude and a proper research platform, each doing what it does best. And the verification standard that applies before any Claude-assisted research goes into advice or a submission. Before anything else, what is Claude actually as a research tool? Claude is a reasoning system. It was trained on a vast corpus of legal material, judgments, statutes, commentary, legal textbooks, academic articles, across multiple jurisdictions, over a very long period. That training gave Claude deep familiarity with legal concepts, legal reasoning, doctrines, and the relationships between different areas of law. What that training did not give Claude is a live connection to anything. Claude has a knowledge cutoff. It does not connect to Westlaw, LexisNexis, Fastcase, or any other research database. It cannot search for cases decided last month. It cannot confirm that a statute is in its current form. It cannot tell you whether a case it knows from its training has since been overturned. Understanding this distinction between a system that reasons brilliantly about law and a system that accesses current, verified legal authority is the thing that determines whether you use Claude well or dangerously in a research context. The practical consequence. Claude on a question it was trained on extensively is a highly sophisticated research assistant. Claude on a question that depends on recent developments, current legislation, or live case law is a starting point that requires verification, not a final answer. Here are the research tasks Claude handles well. 6 of them, specifically. Issue spotting. Upload a set of facts and ask Claude to identify the legal issues that arise. It reads the facts the way a lawyer would, looking for causes of action, defenses, procedural questions, and the areas of law engaged. This is one of the most reliable uses of Claude in a research context, precisely because it doesn't depend on Claude knowing what the current law says. It depends on Claude understanding how lawyers identify legal problems. That capability is genuine. Framing the research question. Ask Claude to help you formulate the precise legal question before you start researching. A well-framed research question produces better results on any research platform. Claude's understanding of how legal concepts relate to each other, how a tortious claim intersects with a contractual one, how a regulatory question affects a common law position, makes it unusually good at the framing work that determines whether the research is efficient or circular. Explaining the legal landscape. Ask Claude to explain how an area of law works. The key principles, the leading doctrines, the way courts have typically approached a recurring problem. This gives you the map before you navigate the territory on your research platform. It doesn't replace the research. It makes the research more efficient by giving you the context you need to evaluate what you find. Summarizing uploaded cases and statutes. This is one of the most reliable uses of Claude in research, full stop. Upload a judgment and ask Claude to summarize the key holdings, the reasoning, the qualifications on the principle, and how the case would apply to your facts. Claude is reading the document you gave it, not relying on its training data. The output is based on what you provided. This is the appropriate way to use Claude on case law. You find the cases on a research platform, verify their current, then use Claude to read and synthesize them. Structuring the legal analysis. Once you have your research, Claude can help structure the analysis. How to organize the issues, what order to address them in, how the authorities relate to each other. Claude's reasoning capability is genuine and useful at this stage, provided the inputs are verified. Testing the legal argument. Run your draft analysis past Claude before it goes into advice or a submission. Ask it to identify weaknesses, find gaps in the reasoning, and flag where the authority doesn't quite support the proposition. The opposition read applied to legal analysis. Now for the limits that matter for legal practice. The most dangerous thing Claude does in a research context is sound authoritative when it is wrong. The same confident register, the same legal vocabulary, the same precise citation format. Wrong. 4 specific things Claude cannot do in a research context. First, verify that a case exists. Claude can cite cases that don't exist. It can also cite cases that exist but don't say what it says they say. It does both in the same confident register as when it's right. A case citation from Claude is a starting point for verification, not a verified citation. Every case Claude produces in a research context must be checked on a research platform before it goes anywhere. Second, confirm a case is still good law. Even if Claude correctly identifies a real case, it cannot tell you whether that case has been overturned, distinguished, or affected by subsequent legislation. Cases Claude knows as leading authority may no longer be. This is not a theoretical risk. It is a practical one in any area of law that has developed since Claude's training. Third, access current legislation. Claude's knowledge of legislation has a cutoff. Amended statutes, new regulations, updated practice directions, and recent legislative changes after that cutoff are outside what Claude knows. Current legislation requires a live legislative source, not Claude. Fourth, know what happened recently. Cases decided after Claude's training cutoff don't exist for Claude. In areas of law that move quickly, employment, tax, regulatory, technology, this gap is significant. Recent developments require a research platform. The professional consequence of getting any of these wrong is significant. Every legal proposition, case citation, and statutory reference produced by Claude in a research context must be verified through a live research platform before it appears in advice or a submission. Not most of them. Every one. With those limits understood, the hybrid workflow becomes clear. Claude maps the territory. The research platform navigates it. 4 steps. Step 1. Claude for issue spotting and framing. Upload the facts. Ask Claude to identify the legal issues and frame the precise research question for each one. You start your platform search knowing exactly what you're looking for and why it matters for the matter. Step 2. The research platform for verified authority. Run the research using the questions Claude framed. Find the current verified cases and statutes on a platform that connects to live legal databases. You're searching more precisely because the framing is better. The research is faster and more targeted. Step 3. Claude for analysis and structure. Upload the verified cases and statutes. Ask Claude to summarize the key holdings, identify how they apply to your facts, and structure the analysis. Claude reasons over what you gave it, not its training data. The output is grounded in verified authority because you gave it verified authority to work with. Step 4. U, for professional judgment. Apply your judgment to the analysis. Verify every proposition against the primary sources. Make the call on the advice. The professional accountability is yours. Claude and the research platform produce the inputs. You produce the advice. 3 copy-ready prompts, 1 for each Claude stage of the hybrid workflow. Prompt 1, issue spotting and research framing. I am going to describe a factual scenario. Identify every legal issue that arises from these facts. For each issue, name the area of law engaged, state the specific legal question that needs to be researched, and identify what the outcome of that question will determine for the matter. Then prioritize the issues in order of legal significance. Facts. Paste facts. Prompt 2. Case analysis. Upload the case first. Read this judgment. Identify the key legal proposition it establishes, the facts material to the outcome, the reasoning the court applied, any qualifications or limitations on the principle, and how the case would apply to a situation where your specific facts. Flag anything uncertain with verify. Prompt 3. Structuring the analysis after research is complete. I have completed my legal research on issue. I will upload the key cases and statutes, read them, and produce a structured legal analysis. The applicable legal test or principle, how the authorities establish it, how it applies to my client's facts, the strongest argument for my client's position, and the strongest counterargument. Flag anything uncertain with verify. All 3 prompts are in the description below. The verification standard for Claude-assisted research is higher than for Claude-assisted drafting. Here's why. A drafting error in a Claude-assisted letter can be caught by reading the letter before it goes out. A research error in a Claude-assisted legal proposition can go undetected through multiple layers of review if nobody independently checks the primary source. The failure mode is invisible. For checks, every case citation. Check that the case exists. Check that it says what Claude says it says. Check that it has not been overturned, distinguished, or affected by subsequent legislation. Use a research platform with a citator function. Do not skip this check regardless of how confident the Claude output appears. Every statutory reference. Confirm the provision exists in its current form on a live legislative source. Legislation changes. Claude's training data has a cutoff. Every legal proposition. A legal proposition from Claude is a hypothesis, not a finding. Verify it against the primary sources before it goes into advice or a submission. Do not rely on Claude's characterization of what the law is. Rely on what the cases and statutes actually say. Practical rule. If a proposition is important enough to appear in advice to a client or a submission to a court, it is important enough to verify independently of Claude. The verify instruction in every prompt reduces the volume of unverified propositions. It does not replace the verification itself. Claude makes a good researcher faster. It does not replace the research platform. Issue spotting, framing, landscape explanation, summarizing uploaded cases, structuring the analysis, testing the argument. These are the research tasks Claude handles well and reliably. Use Claude for these. Verifying that a case exists, confirming it is still good law, checking current legislation, and finding recent developments. These require a live research platform. Use a research platform for these. Use together. Claude mapping the territory, the research platform navigating it. You get research that is faster, better framed, and more thoroughly analyzed than either tool produces alone. That's the episode. See you in the next one.